The shop is open. This is the Talk About RC podcast, where we talk about RC racing, crawling, bashing, building, and dad stuff. Get back to work and listen, amigo. I'm your host, Pablo Guerrero. Welcome to the show on the road. So I'm currently in Alaska and I'm typing into our GPS that I'm looking for donuts. So how do you guys travel? Like for me, I'm an early riser and we're on a time change now. So it's not early by any means. My family likes to sleep in. It's 8:30 here. There's an hour time change, but yesterday was just travel like crazy. And so the time change, I think, is getting some of the people here. But I am I gotta get up. So I got up and I ran out, and now I'm gonna go and search for donuts and bring donuts home. But in your guys' travel, I think this whole episode is going to kind of be based around travel, traveling with family. We did end up bringing the RCs. We brought two 24s. Not sure what kind of time we're going to get. Not sure what kind of terrain we're going to get. So we'll see. But I am really loving getting away and making it so I don't have to do anything. Very few and far between do I get a full vacation where I'm not working. A lot of the times we travel, and I bring the family with me so I can just to get away for a little bit. So a lot of the times what we do is for my work, I have to, let's say, go to Eastern Washington, and we install a big sign package, and it's just my wife and I. Every now and then I have to get my installer out there, but it's just my wife and I, and we go out and we install oh shoot, you know what I realized? I should probably, I don't know if I have the address to where I'm going back. We got there at midnight, and I was just listening to my wife tell me how to get places, so well, hopefully I can find my way back as I'm talking in the middle of Anchorage, Alaska, and I have no idea where I'm at. So anyhow, a lot of times I travel for work, and my family comes with me, and I grind it out tough for 2 or 3 days for the install, and then we take 2 or 3 days for vacation. But by the time I'm in vacation mode, I'm ground down pretty tough and just tired. The kind of vacationing I like, it's funny, I used to like going and trying to crush all the scenes and all that kind of stuff and see all the things that you're supposed to see. And now I'm more of let's just explore, let's take our time. I don't like even to set plans. I just like to kind of do my thing and get out there, but see what, kind of see where the day takes me, kind of a thing. And so right now I'm trying to merge into traffic. I found a donut place called Dino's Donuts. We'll see what it looks like, and let's see where it's taking me. I am no way gonna find my way back. Not a chance. Maybe I can use technology and ping my daughter's iWatch, or Apple Watch, whatever it's called. There it is. I see the donut shop. Anyways, so how do you guys like to travel? Do you guys travel with, with your family? Do you like traveling by yourself? I've only taken one trip where I've traveled by myself, and it was pretty rad. I've never done it, and it was a good experience. So I'd like to do that again. I think that there's time for that. I think once you've been married long enough, I think it's probably okay to take a travel by yourself or, go with some friends. The first time I traveled solo cross country was last summer, and I went to go help Tony from CCXRC shoot the low C kingsling and bog hog video, and that was a lot of fun. So we got to go and do that, and had to fly across country to, where was it? Not West Virginia, North Carolina. And so landed there. I don't remember where I landed, and then we had the couple days turnaround. It was fun. Wish I had a little bit more time, but you know how those days go. So, hello from Alaska. We're going to be talking about a little bit more stuff throughout this podcast. What do we got lined up so far? I don't remember. I'm going to take a look at my little picture of what my show sheet was, just to see what I originally thought I was going to do. And so I still have, the why. Why are we doing so like for us people that like to do content on, podcast or on, YouTube or do videos, content creators. I wanted to talk about the why. Why do we do it? Why should we do it? Why should we not do it? One of the other things I wanted to talk about is what you look forward to. Like, what are you looking forward to this fall? This fall, I think, is going to be an interesting fall when it comes to the RC market. And what are you looking forward to? Are you done with summer already? Are you ready for fall? Are you ready for Halloween? Do you skip Halloween and go straight to Christmas? Let me know. I love the holidays. So for me, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to reconnecting. I mean, I see my family all the time, but I think this year is going to be a good shift. I think the last couple of years have been hit and miss for, my family was pretty cool about getting together, but I think right now there's not too much worry or anything like that. So I think it's going to be fun. So I'm looking forward to that kind of stuff. But I'm sure I'll come up with a couple more things to talk about. But until then, on to the next segment. Are you looking to souse up your UDR? Head over to amalgamrc.com. He has some really awesome stuff for your UDR out there. He's got some windows, side panels. He's got the A-Souse. He's got a roof rack for your LED lights on your UDR. You want to step up your UDR game and shred with the best? Go check out their website. They got really, the craftsmanship that Emerson has at Amalgam is second to none. Super, super awesome. Very good attention to detail. I've got some of his side panels for the UDR, and I've got some of the side windows for it. And oh my gosh, that stuff, it elevates it to your scale realism. It looks really good. He's got that A-Sauce. That stuff is rad. My son is a nut for cleaning tires and just to keep your car looking sharp. The kit comes with a towel, a brush, and the spray. Definitely worth it. Go check them out, amalgamrc.com. Tell them Pablo sent you. Captain's Log, Day 2. I don't know why I said Captain's Log. I think it's because this is not a vlog. This is a audio log, I guess. So I elected to throw myself under the bus on vacation just because I'm used to waking up early. It just turned 7 o'clock in Alaska, and Sunday, and we've got to do the planes, trains, and automobiles stuff. We're literally driving the rental car to the train depot, dropping everyone off. We got 2 cars, dropping everyone off with a mountain of luggage, and then driving back to the airport to drop off the cars, and then getting a taxi to drive back to the railroad depot, And I've got to say, I'm super proud of my in-laws. I'm normally behind them with a electric cattle prod, like let's go when we have to get somewhere on time. And they were up by the time I was out of the shower. So fantastic. So now I told them, I said, hey, you guys wake up early. I'll wake up extra early and I'll run down and grab us all coffee. So now I have a massive coffee order. I'm the coffee intern. We called him something else when I was in the design studio. I'll let you put that together. So now I'm on my way down, getting Starbucks. It's my father-in-law's favorite. I don't know if he has stock in Starbucks, but I think he literally, that's he can't do life without Starbucks. So I am going down to get Starbucks. I'm a little concerned about how big this order is, but we'll figure it out. So today's going to be exciting. We're going to take this railway all the way down to Whittier, Alaska. And apparently it's one of the railways that has those really cool train cars on top, or windows on top of the train car, so we could see everything going out. I'm actually really excited for this. So we'll see how it turns out. Let's see, I'm turning in to Starbucks. I should just go through the drive-thru, but I'm going to walk in because that's what we do, right? So, all right, until the next chunk. All right, one thing I love is when things go smooth, like when everyone's on the same page and everyone knows what's supposed to happen. So, and I'm talking about my coffee peeps. I love me some good coffee peeps, man. All right, so we have a stand out home, and we've been going to it literally since 2009. And we know all the baristas. We know the owners. We've done signs for them. All that kind of good stuff. And it is just awesome when you can go somewhere like that, and then they know exactly what you need. All that kind of stuff. That is awesome. And so it's sometimes there's a big big line, and it's a drive-through stand. They have a couple of them at our neighborhood, and there's a drive-through stand, and sometimes if the line's long, they'll literally come out and bring our coffee to us and be like, here's your coffee. And because we drink the same thing every day, but I change it up for seasons. I like to spice it up, and the season is coming. It's upon us, but we're still in summer, so I'm still drinking my coffee. My coffee, just so you guys know, is a 24-ounce Snickers soy mocha. All day. 24-ounce sounds ginormous, and it is. But I need a lot of caffeine to keep me going. I drink coffee all day. Love it. Love it. Anyways, went through my massive coffee order, 6 coffees, 5 breakfast things. Went through my massive coffee order, and they nailed it. So, and I told them what was going on at the Starbucks here locally, and they're like, we got you. And I was the first one in, it seemed like. Probably not, but definitely one of the first in the dining room. And they just nailed it. They go, here you go. And it's all packaged up nicely for me to carry. Thank you, Starbucks, Anchorage, Alaska. I don't know I think that's just what it is. I don't know what town we're in. I think it's just Anchorage. I have no idea. I feel like Anchorage seems a little big for the area that we're in, but maybe it isn't. So, very excited. Heading back. This light's taking a little longer than I anticipated, but I have 10 minutes if I want to stay on schedule, to get back, offload coffee, load up 6 people's luggage, and hit the road. I think it's doable. I buffered a little extra time, so I think this is going to eat up a little into that extra time. But let's see if this quarterback thing goes. I probably won't be able to give you synopsis until tomorrow, maybe late tonight. We'll see. I don't think this is going to be like a travel blog. log, whatever they're called, because frankly, that's not why I'm vacationing. So I think if I do it, it'll probably be in the mornings, early, before everyone wakes up. But I have a feeling one of my kids is probably going to want to sneak out with me to get coffee in the morning. So we'll see what happens. But hope you guys are when you guys are listening to this, if you listen to it on premiere day, I hope you guys are having a fantastic Monday morning or Monday period. And I'll be home by the time this thing airs. So let's see what this adventure brings us to. We brought the RC cars. We haven't driven them yet. Yesterday was kind of like a recoup day a little bit after traveling into the evening. And so let's see if I can beat this pace car here. I don't know if you guys can hear the motor going in this rental Chevy Colorado, driving it like I stole it. But yeah, yesterday was kind of like a reset day, which was fine. I was just fine, just kind of hanging out and going with the flow. Tomorrow and the next day is going to be kind of a lot of the same. We're going to be on a cruise ship, so it's going to be very low key. We're going to be it's called out to sea. We're cruising from Whittier down to Sitka, I think, is our first stop. We'll see. Anyhow, have a good one, amigos. Enjoy the rest of your morning beverage, and we'll see you then. All right, amigos, it's time for the news. This one might run a little long just because there's a couple topics going on outside of RC, but here we go, 3, 2, 1. So, Sun Racing has the 8-scale M Sport Puma Rally 1 RTR. It says it's 2 to 3S. Seems like a really cool rig. I love the livery. It's the Ford Focus Red Bull. It looks the part. It looks like the Rallycross. If you had a really cool scale track for it, you can get some really cool shots of it, I'm sure. Pro Boat has a 24-inch Jetstream Jet Boat RTR, the Shreddy Edition, and Mojo 2. This thing looks rad. It's basically the aluminum pan riverboat that is meant for shredding on the river. Jet outboard, or inboard outboard, I guess, whatever you want to call it. Jet propelled. Yeah, I'm sure you can hear the cough drop in my mouth. Sorry for all that clacking. But the livery on it is the Wilkie kind of extreme livery. It looks great. It looks just like his 1-to-1. Really cool rig. I can't imagine. One thing that I'm interested in, I didn't read the specs, but I don't know if it has a self-riding capability on it. That's a deal breaker for me because I don't swim. I probably could if I had to, but I don't, so there it is. FMS has the Land Cruiser FJ40 10 scale that came out this week, or last week, depending on when you're listening to it. Blue and yellow, very, very highly detailed. I am impressed with the video that they showed of the interior. It looked kind of first person, as the head turns around looking at the interior details. I think something like this could be a really, really cool base point for someone to kind of go crazy with scale. Very cool details to start with. I could see all kinds of patina on the inside, on the outside, maybe a retro mod, something like that. Very cool rig. It's not going to be a total performer, but it'll be pretty neat. AE came out with the Apex 2 Sport Datsun 620. I love this. This truck, it's brushed. It's a truck. It looks like a little drift rocket. I can just picture all the drifting guys getting behind this body. However, I don't think the drifting guys are going to be really into the chassis. I don't know. We'll see. Most drift guys like the two-wheel drive stuff. So I think, but as like a road basher, as something fun, this thing could definitely look the part, especially with a lot of scale detail out there. This thing would look great. Primal RC came out with their Charger. I don't know what it's, 5th scale, big, whatever it is, gas-powered car. The details and the body styling of this look phenomenal. I'm not really sure how I would use this being the price point, because it's pretty pricey and it really only, I think, goes on concrete, and I don't really know how you would. I mean, it's kind of a basher, I guess, but unless you had someone else that you could race with, it would be kind of big. I don't know how fast it is. It's got line locks on it, which are cool, but I don't know that's quick enough to smoke the tires. So maybe if you got a backdraft to win, it might give it that effect with the gas. But nonetheless, very cool. And I also want to give a quick shout out to our friends down in California in the Baja area. Hope you guys are all safe down there. Hopefully you guys are staying dry and that you're not underwater. And you know, if there's a silver lining to all this, hopefully it creates some new terrain for you guys to crawl. That's the news, guys. We went a minute over about, but hopefully you guys can go out and check all these out. I don't put the links in the description. You guys know how to find all this stuff. Go out and buy something, have fun with it. That's the news. Do you have tiny hands? Do you insist on working on small things? Head over to ccxrc.com to get all your 124 scale needs. If you want to make your 124 scale weigh as much as your 10 scale, he's got you covered. They also have electronics too. Try the Mighty Chihuahua or the Baby Goliath and make your 124 scale a Mighty Mouse. Use code RC Amigos at checkout for a 5% discount and keep listening for specials. ccxrc.com, and don't forget to tell them in the messages that you're going to shoot them in the baby maker with a BB gun. Tell them Pablo sent you. All right, amigos, here we are. We are in windy Skagway, Alaska. So we are in a little lounge. It's called, more specifically, the Hudson Room. We're right off the coffee bar, which is one of my favorite places to go. It's in different places on different ships, but on this ship it's about midship, almost to the front of the boat. Actually, no, I take that back. We'd be closer, yeah, almost to the front of the boat. It's a really awesome little kind of environment because it's a little coffee stand. If you get out there early in the morning, it's really quiet. And right now, it's not that early. It's about 9:30. And things are picking up, but since we're in port, people are heading out for the day. So one of the bummers that came across with the trip so far is that I brought the mini crawlers and they were checked. And so they were checked on the train from Anchorage to Whittier. And then when we got to port at Whittier to get on the ship, they went from the train directly to the ship. And so when we got in, I was waiting and all my other luggage showed up except for that one bag. And then I waited for a while. And then we got a message saying, hey, we need you to come down to security ASAP. And so I'm like, okay. Because my other checked bag came that has my little pocket tool on it and all that kind of stuff. I have like a mini Leatherman. And generally those ones, they don't like going in and out of the ship. But I figure if I'm in Alaska on an adventure, I need to have something. So we go down there and they're like, you have RC cars, sir. And I was like, yep, little ones. And they said that they were not allowed anywhere on the ship. And I said, okay, no problem. And they said, and you have to promise to leave them in your suitcase. And I was like, well, what about going out to port? Because we're in Alaska, there's lots of rocks. I mean, I'm looking at the pier here and there's just rocks everywhere. It would be so awesome to be able to take out these crawlers and play around out there. And they're like, nope, we can't have you taking them out to port either. I'm like, seriously? Like, I could see that for, a 10 scale crawler. I get it. People who don't know what those are probably worried that they might tear up the landscape. But mini crawlers, not a chance. So that's the one thing that's been kind of a bummer. This is our first port of call. It's Wednesday now, so we've been at sea for 3.5 days, or 2.5 days or so. So I'm jonesing for it. I also don't have internet. I didn't get the internet package, which is nice. But I was anticipating being in port that I would have service, and I do, but for some strange reason I'm not getting my data. It says I have LTE service out here, and for some reason I'm not getting my data. So that's kind of a bummer. But all in all, it's interesting because we got to see some glaciers yesterday, and the glaciers were amazing. We were in Glacier Bay, Alaska, and it was not the best weather, but like leading up to it, the night before, and the early morning of, I guess for people that aren't used to it, we had some seas, but the seas aren't terrible here. I mean, we had some rockiness, but nothing. I mean, I've been in much, much worse seas than this, so it was all right, but it was still a little bit of the talk. Interested to see how it goes getting out of this bay today. We're leaving about 8:30, and the wind is just ridiculous. I don't know if it's always windy here like this, but I'll probably ask some of the locals. But I mean, it's probably 25 to 35 sustained winds, like miles per hour. So it's very interesting. I'm gonna hopefully where we're going today is a little bit wind blocked. Otherwise, it's going to make for some interesting attire getting out there. So we're probably heading out around 11 or noon. We'll see how it goes. But what I was going to say is that the glaciers definitely, I think this whole episode is going to kind of revolve around perspective and kind of what that means, and what it is, what perspective you have when it comes to doing RC car stuff, doing content creation, just life in general. It's going to be some RC car stuff, obviously, but it's also going to be kind of heavy on like the why. I guess that's going to be the title of this one, I think. Oh.
Good morning, everyone. May I have your attention, please?
There's the cruise director.
This is the Watch with an important announcement for all guests and crew. In a few moments' time, we'll be conducting a safety drill for our crew. These drills are conducted
regularly. We'll come back after the safety drill.
Our crew is well prepared.
All right, so you'll probably hear some buzzes and dings and stuff like that, but let's get back to what I was saying. So this is going to be revolving around the why. The why we choose the things we choose to do, and what that means for the rest of our kind of our days, our weeks, our hours. Kind of, it's interesting when you look at what your priorities are and changing your priorities and what that means. We talked a little bit about goal setting, and then ending up like what does that mean? Like how do you kind of back that up, and how do you you have to look at what you're willing to sacrifice. So the why on this is interesting. I think of the the why. Why are we working so hard like we do? And I know you hear of people say other countries have better vacations and all that, and I think there's some truth to that, but I also think that like our nation, we have the ability to kind of set up our lifestyle a little bit differently, and to have that kind of freedom. So I think things like that are a huge asset. Like for instance, right now I'm missing work. I'm a small business owner, and if I'm not working, we're not making money. And I don't have paid vacation, so I'm not going to get a paycheck when I get home. Now, luckily, I busted my butt for like 2 weeks prior to this, and so I got to leave and know that this vacation is paid for in full, which is nice, but at what expense, right? What was I willing to sacrifice? Well, sleep and rest was probably the biggest sacrifice I had. It was my priority to still do our art night with my daughter, and my priority to get my kid on the racetrack. So We did both of those once we're successful at that. But it's but then the rest of it was like, okay, I'm staying late, I'm going in early, I'm not doing this, I'm doing that kind of a thing. But that allowed us to come out and to play. And I think a lot of that, like when it is relative to RC, we kind of have to look at why we're doing RC, right? Like when I started doing RC again, I say again because I did it when I was young, and then I took that long break, and then we started doing it again once I had kids and once I had kind of play buddies, I guess I would say. I did it as a release, and it was something that was, I've gone through, I would say this is my third go at RC. First go was when I was a kid, and that lasted probably till I was 14, I would say. And then I started picking up real cars and working on real cars, that kind of thing. And then I took, obviously I took a break. Of course, I kind of dabbled here and there, picked up an old car and ran it. But then I took a huge break in college, like high school, college. I don't remember, I didn't get I'm trying to think of when I got my first T-Max after coming back for the second time. So I want to say that was probably 2007, 2006, somewhere around there. I didn't know getting back into it, I didn't know anything about it. So I got into a T-Max, and then I bought an RC10 GT and was just ripping them, just having fun ripping them. So I probably did it for a few years, 2 or 3 years. And the funny thing is I was working a ton. That was before I had kids. And I would literally take the T-Max out and take it to a construction site or something like that and just beat on it until it broke. And then that was my kind of enjoyment, was beating on it until it broke, and then I would go out and buy parts to fix it. So that was, a release back then. When I was a kid, it was just playing. When I turned adult, it was kind of a release. And I remember, like with the RC10 GT, I remember taking that and trying to lean it out to the max I could lean it out. And I forgot what motor I put in it, but I put another electric engine in it. A gas engine in it. It was nitro. And I remember leaning it out so tough so that I remember there was this hump in the driveway of where I used to work, and I used to just pin it going over there. And if I hit it just right, just when I started hitting the top end of that motor, the front wheels would start to roll up, and I'd pick up the front wheels and do this awesome, like full speed, high speed wheelie. That was always fun. I don't ever remember breaking that truck. I'm sure I did, but I don't remember breaking it. I think I had more problems just the tune, keeping that thing running. But the T-Max, same kind of thing. Keeping that thing running was kind of a pain in the butt. But I never felt like it was fast enough. Like, I don't know if I felt like it was quick, but I felt like it was kind of bogging. I don't think I ever tuned that one very well. But I remember changing the motor on that one too. But, back to it, it's kind of like a release, right? And having that release, that relaxation, what does that mean to certain people? Is that going out on trails? Is that, breaking your car and bashing it? Is that just tinkering on it? You get the people that are just into scale stuff, and they have these beautiful scale cars, but they don't go out and run them very hard. The hobby is a different thing to all of us, and I think sometimes we lose sight of that. I think especially as content creators, we lose sight of that. We enjoy it, and there's flashes and moments that we enjoy a lot where we can just zone out, and we're not getting any text, we're not getting any calls, no DMs, no emails, nothing, and we just zone out and we play. And those are the ones that I live for. I really appreciate those ones. Every now and then we get a kit, or we get something that we're trying to make content out of, and I think that kind of steals away a little bit. But in hindsight, I always know that I'm gonna have those moments with those kits and those cars, but first we have to get some work done. before we can play. I'm going to pause it real quick so I can take a drink. All right. Coffee's good. Oh, man. Love me some coffee. But, you know, I think sometimes we have to sacrifice. We have to sacrifice that first initial playing with, you know, you want the car, as content creators, we want the vehicle to look as good as possible on camera. And that means sometimes we're taking the vehicle out for the first time on camera and we don't really get to break it in per se or understand the characteristics. And then what's nice about that is we get our first true, like our true first impression on the vehicle, which is a blast. I mean, it's always fun, but sometimes that's where the patience comes in, right? Because you could go out and have a bad day and it's not the car. It might be the location. It might be the weather. It might be you just got other stuff on your mind. You're trying to rush it or whatnot. So having that patience is good. Sometimes I almost think of, you know, I go out and I take video of the car and then I go out another day and take video of the car. I wish sometimes we would be able to get these cars a little earlier. I know you can't all the time. And I know sometimes we do actually. But so you can get the cars out a little earlier and make some good video of it. But you always want the video to be the most sparkling stuff, you know, when it's a release, when you want the first video to come out. So you want the car to look nice. You don't want scratches from tumbling and all that kind of stuff on it yet. So it's kind of a balance on how you do it. But, you know, I think the question I have to ask myself sometimes is the why. Why am I doing this? Am I doing this for clicks? Am I doing it for follows? Am I doing it for views, all that kind of stuff? And, you know, or am I doing it just for the relaxation and my getaway? And I think I always have to go back to, you know, some people ask like, why do I make videos even when I'm not getting the new cars sometimes and I just still make videos. And I truly think that that's kind of a hobby for me. You know, that's the part that I like so much. I love exploring. I love being able to go out onto a mountain with an RC car and make some good video. And sometimes I feel like, man, going back to is the juice worth the squeeze? Sometimes I walk with them driving, and sometimes I backpack them. And backpacking, you know, my backpack could be 20 pounds, 25 pounds, and I'm hiking in 5 to 7 miles one way before I turn back around. And, you know, it gets pretty heavy. On the way back, sometimes I drive the car out a little bit further. Whoa. Those drills are always exciting. So what you didn't hear is that the drill was for damage to the ship and sewage spillage. And so they go through the whole protocol of what the words are, all that kind of thing. So it's pretty exciting. They do that when we're at port because generally everyone's off the ship. We're, you know, 70% of the people are off the ship by now. So very exciting stuff. Anyways, you know, going back to the why and all that kind of stuff, the idea of doing this as a release, you always have to keep your eyes on the prize because that's the, you know, it's the moments where me and the kid are out crawling, and I spoke about that, where we just get to reflect and take it in sometimes. And, you know, sometimes we just stop and we're hiking and we stop and we take a look at the view. Or I've been on hikes before where I've stopped and it's been both my kids and I just tell them to listen and to listen to the woods. We get far enough away where we can't hear cars, we can't hear planes, any of that kind of stuff. And, you know, for a kid in these days to be able to do that, I think is huge. They don't much get that opportunity to stop and hear the world and hear the dirt and hear the trees and hear the air. You know, they get stuck behind those screens as we do, you know, looking at all this RC stuff. And so I guess that's kind of one of the things too, you know, you have to be good stewards of it.
I try not to make content that's inflammatory or content that's, I would say mine's entertainment and informative, but I wouldn't say it's like entertainment that's, bad, or not bad, but, inflammatory. And I think, being stewards of that and making videos and making content that, people can watch and be okay watching it, and it's not going to trigger them and it's not going to set them off. Now, I do know making this podcast, we're talking about conspiracy things, but those are purely coming from a, what's the word? Entertainment kind of aspect. It's not meant to trigger anyone. It's meant to just be like, hey, this is a funny story, or it's an interesting story, may or may not be true. We'll see. So those are some of the things that I think are, fun about this. The why, we're going to talk about that a couple more times through this podcast. Why do we take pictures and post them? Why do we take videos and edit them? Are we trying, what, I think, there was, are we trying to go for the biggest jump to post it to go viral, or are we trying to go to the biggest jump just because it's fun for us to do it? I think there's a lot of that kind of stuff that we have to investigate, but I don't think there's ever the right answer, and I think in different parts of your life you're going to have different answers for those different things too. So until then, amigos, we're going to be at sea. I've got tomorrow, I don't remember where I'm going to be, Juneau, I think, and should be fun.
Attention.
Do you know what happens when you eat aluminum foil? Speaking of sheet metal, head over to scalemetalsupplies.com to find all sorts of bend and brace projects for your tiny truck. From the new Fast Dash, hot seats, shock boxes, Scale Metal Supplies has you covered. When you check out, use code TacoBellRC to get a 15% discount at checkout. Don't forget, scalemetalsupplies.com. Go check them out. They got all kinds of cool stuff there for your tiny truck building needs. All right, let's see if we can get this going without having a bunch of background noise from the stereo above me. Hopefully it'll cloud itself out. So we're on the way home finally, and I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but sounds like I might have caught something. I've been grinding it out, doped up on a bunch of Aleve cold and sinus, some Tylenol. It's been eventful walking around town. We're in Vancouver, BC, for all my northern brethren out there. Just got some coffee called Blue Whale Coffee. I don't know what I'm expecting here, but we'll see how it tastes. My family all went into the Fly Canada experience, so I wasn't really feeling up to it, so I'm going to hang out here and hang out outside and people watch and see all the sights to take in. There's a bunch of fun topics to talk about over this last week. We had the patient stuff, we had the experience stuff. One of the things that I think is interesting about the experience thing is that traveling with kids, sometimes you got to remember that. Sorry, I'm going to have to take a lot of drinks because I've got a little bit of a cough and I don't want to cough a ton, but the experiences, right? So I was talking to my mother-in-law about this. It's interesting because I think I'm more of the experience, as in like when we go on vacation, I like to go on adventure and to see what's out there and to see kind of what we can get into and what we can explore, all that kind of stuff. And I have to remember that all the little shops and things like that aren't so interesting are the things that the kids haven't had a time to experience. That I've experienced that, we cruised a lot. We were on this cruise, and I've experienced that, and I've experienced how it's like in port cities or in like, you go to places like Cabo and stuff like that. All the stores are basically the same in those touristy districts. I like to get off the beaten path and get off, generally you only have to go a few blocks in from where all that stuff lies. And once you're a few blocks in, then you get to kind of see the real life and how all that is going on. But I have to remember, my kids want to see all that stuff, so we hit all the stores and looked at all the same stuffed animals and all the same shirts and all the same stickers and all that kind of stuff. But to them, a lot of it was different. And it was exciting for them. And so that's why we're doing it, I like to plant that seed of excitement for people that are new to traveling. I've taken my cousin and my sister now on travels with us, I just dripped coffee all over me. But I've taken them out with me to different places to travel, and it sparked their interest to travel farther, which I think is awesome. And especially now that they have the opportunity to be adventurous and to create their own adventures, that's the thing that I think is important in life, to step out of your comfort zone. It was interesting because we were watching the We Bought a Zoo movie, and there was a line that I had never caught before, and it's so true, and it's so hard to articulate, and it was so perfect, but it was 20 seconds of bravery can lead to something great, something to that effect. And it is totally true, because if you can just step outside of your comfort zone for that 20 seconds and get somewhere where you want to go, it often will take you some fun places. So hopefully that's what we're planting these seeds for these kids. We'll see. Are you looking for something special for that special scale truck in your life? Head over to spec-rc.com and check out their one-of-a-kind, well, they're not one-of-a-kind, but they are very limited run custom CNC wheels for crawlers. They have wheels for crawlers, wheels for the SCX6. Now he takes orders, and he's got special rings too, so put a ring on it with that. But he takes special orders. You have to follow him on Instagram and on Facebook to see when the books are open, but then that's when you can order these wheels, and these wheels are gorgeous. We just talked about them in the creative process part, and oh my gosh, he made a set of wheels for me that were blue anodized with red anodized with machined pieces and blue rings, and they are gorgeous, and we used them for a Captain Insano build a year or two ago. So these wheels are amazing. Ask anyone who's got them. They are like the jewelry on your rig. Go over there, check them out, and get a set ordered up for them. So we finally made it home, and we had quite the day on our travels on the way home yesterday. It was truly planes, trains, and automobiles and boats. So we got off the ship, had a taxi, took a train. We didn't fly, actually. We didn't fly yesterday. That would have been on our way there. But we stopped in Vancouver, Canada, BC. And so this kind of segment, it's interesting. We're going to talk a little bit of, I don't know how to approach this, but maybe like a situational awareness while traveling. But I got some things to kind of like circle back into. But okay, so while we were there was an anime. It was called Anime Revolution convention. It was interesting. So I guess we kind of have to preface it with that we all have a little basement weirdo. We all have kind of this freak flag we like to show off from time to time. And, we all have a little bit of nerdism. I have a cousin who's really into nerddom. Like he literally travels around the world for different conventions, for like, what are they called? Dungeons and Dragons, that kind of thing. And a funny story is me and Olivia were in the car one day talking to him on the car phone, and we knew he was at a convention. I didn't know what it was for, and he goes, "Oh, it's he's called it a board game convention or like a tabletop. I don't know what they're called, whatever." And she goes, "What game?" And he goes, "Dungeons and Dragons." And instantly she goes, "Nerd." And part of me wanted to be like, yeah, it was funny, and he got it. It was funny. We always poke fun at each other. But I was proud, but I also had to use it as kind of like a teachable moment, a little bit. So seeing all the people, well, a teachable moment being like, we all have our creativity outlets, blah, 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 blah. Although that's funny, some people take it very seriously, and, it's kind of, you don't want to be mean, but you can poke fun at people. People generally, if you're into that kind of stuff, you kind of get it. So, but, seeing all the people all dressed up and, all decked out, that first take was interesting, and kind of, you kind of look at them like, wow, these guys are like hardcore into it. But then I realized we are one of them, like with our toy cars. And, that's something that I was like, wow, that really was, I was kind of being consumed by all the detail and, their weaponry and the just little accoutrement of their, I don't know if you call them costumes, but they're cosplay outfits. I don't know what you call them. And so, after seeing all that, I kind of, this is where it kind of gets dark, I guess. I turned into Papa Bear mode, because there was a guy that was walking around. I saw two people. One was walking around in all military uniform, face, like fatigues, face coverings. He had the helmet on, the ears, and he was carrying around, it was a rifle. It had the orange tip on it, and it was interesting because in Canada, I don't think you can have firearms, so I wasn't uberly concerned about it. And there's law enforcement everywhere, and they had to get into the convention anyway. We were just hanging out around the convention center, but at the same time, I heard the clinking and clicking of the thing, and I was like, that's very metallic. But I know there's, models and things out there that are hyper realistic. But then I started kind of going into this like dark mode. And I don't know if it was like the highly medicated state that I was in from being sick, or just the like slightly sepia tone in the sky of red because of the glow from the air from all the fires out there. But my spidey senses kind of like kicked in. And then I started, looking around, and you see all these people with like these swords and guns and weapons and whatnot. And for me anyway, I started like assessing, and I'm not this guy, but I don't know, I've always been this way. So I started assessing, angles, things for cover, ways to control my flock, meaning like my people, all the people I was around, all that kind of stuff. And, when you start looking at things from that point of view, that's when, things start getting kind of, you kind of wonder, okay, how do you come to this game? Now, the hard thing is with traveling, it's like your everyday carry kind of stuff is limited because you have to go through all this security stuff. And so for me, all I could really have was I could only have my tiny little Leatherman tool. So it's like you start to think about, other, like I said, cover angles, all that kind of stuff. And, of course, you think about it, but you also don't want to get too, overwhelmed and consumed by that and the negativity of all that. But you kind of have to think about that. But like, for instance, when I travel with my family, and generally it's a set of in-laws or my in-laws or my parents or whomever, I generally kind of bring up the rear and I'm herding everybody and kind of, making sure everyone's in the same spot. I gotta know where everyone's at, following everyone, that kind of thing. And that, that sets me at ease. It sets me to know that, okay, I can take care of all this, or I can, get people to safety and all that kind of stuff. And so when I travel, that's the way I travel. I try to keep tight quarters with our family, always kind of being a presence. It was funny because one of the guys on the ship, actually, he saw me out and about, and I think this is in Skagway, Alaska, and he goes, well, they certainly know where Papa Bear is, because I was wearing my long sleeve Scale Metal Supplies like ultra green yellow shirt, and it's like, absolutely they know where I'm at. Like, they know, like, that's, if they need to find me, they can find me. And so it's like, little things like that to be prepared for. Carrying my, I have a bungee strap on my, like a heavy duty bungee strap on my backpack that has a little mole carry out thing. And, but the heavy duty bungee strap is extra. And I always think, well, I could always use that as like a makeshift tourniquet. I could, use it as something to like tie back something and whatever, but weaponry and stuff like that. There's not really a whole lot you can do by, packing out when you're doing that kind of traveling, but it's always something to kind of be cautious about. But I guess I digress from that. And what the link I was trying to make with all this kind of thing is also being aware of the vibe and the people that you're around. And to be honest, like I said, most of these people that were like heavily decked out in all their anime stuff, albeit probably odd to most people, outsiders of their craft, when you back out and you focus through, you open your focus and kind of zoom out and look at it, they're just like everyone else. They're just like us when we're making all these, scale toys, playing dollhouse, all that kind of thing. They're just into something different. And, to me, it's like I start looking for those details and start to appreciate that kind of thing. Cough button engaged. As I open up another cough drop. But, you start looking at that kind of stuff, and you start looking at, how, not to judge by face value and, or not face value, but just to judge off of first impression. It's funny because I guess as a total even more extreme, maybe the opposite way, there was a church here locally and kept on hearing a lot of stuff about it. And I was like, all right. And some of the people that went there that I know, they're just not, I guess they're not the kind of people that I hang out with, but they're like-minded people. And I was like, all right, well, one day I just sat down and I watched some of their YouTube sermons to see what it was about. And at first glance, their pastor looked like a total hipster pastor, denim coat, furry lapel, big glasses, like bleached hair, very hipster, right? And at first view, I was like, oh, it's one of those churches, right? And then I listened to his sermon, and I was like, it was surprising because it went the needle kind of went back and forth for me, because it turned out that he had like this like Southern Baptist drawl to him. And I was like, okay, I dig this. This is kind of old school. But at the same time, he was kind of walking a thin line of, being too, I don't know what the word is, like, militant. I don't know. It's hard to explain without getting super deep into it. But, going back to that judging the book by the cover kind of a thing, I was incorrect in my first judgment. And, I was one of the first to point that out to people that I talked to. And I think that's something that we gotta, listen to every now and then, and, don't judge the book by the cover all the time. And, I think that's a valuable lesson in our RC community. And we don't know where these people are coming from. We don't know, what skills they bring to the table. They might be like a heart surgeon, but don't know how to paint their RC body, so we can't judge them on it, right? There's all kinds of things like that. But I think I'm going to wrap it up there. This is probably one of the most fragmented episodes you will ever get, just because I kind of had to put it all together. There wasn't a whole lot of RC talk involved here. I actually had a full probably 15 minutes of RC talk, and I don't know what happened to it. I thought I recorded it, and I must not have. But there will be more RC talk, guys. You can mark my words. We've got a lot of the fall stuff happening. It's going to be interesting because we've got to juggle soccer now. That starts tomorrow, and we're just going to be all over the place. So stick with us. Let us know if you have anything. Oh, and conspiracies are going to return. I haven't done them the last 2 episodes just because, for me, it requires a lot of show prep for me. That's the one part that I actually have to go out and research, because I don't know anything about all these conspiracies that I wrote down. I just kind of flip through the wheel and pick one and then go. We were supposed to do red flags. I think I'm going to switch it. There's another one called, another conspiracy out there. It was called, what was it called? Something like Alaskan mind control. I don't know what that's all about, but it's something that's actually pretty popular. So I am going to check that out, and we'll probably talk about that one on the next episode. And until then, thank you for listening. Just like all the other things, share it up, leave a comment, go check out some of our friends, the Scale Metal Supplies, Amalgam RC, Reefs RC, Element RC, Team Associated, CCX RC, Spec RC, Ovonic, and get something from them, as well as another podcast, Man on the Move. He's on Spotify. Jeff Lemoyne, awesome podcast. Not so much RC related, but I think he's dipping his toes back in the waters a little bit. Let's see if I can push him in and get him in the deep end. But very great podcast, and shout out to him, man. He had some very kind things and to say on his last episode, and I got to say the feelings are mutual, my friend. And his Blast podcast is about friendship and going through different waves and things like that. And he's one of those guys that I've never met in person, and we've just kicked it off and met online, quotation marks. But during all the stuff that happened the last few years, and started talking, and we had a podcast together, all that kind of stuff. So go check him out, Man on the Move. Moving Man on Instagram. And guys, stay tuned for the next one. The next one's coming in hot.